Once a giant, always a giant. For me, it's only a giant.
What's going on YouTube? Diggy546. Definitely hit that subscribe button if you're new. Like the video if you like the video. And I won't tell if you click that bell. Let's go ahead and get into this. I've done a video on the guards of day 2. I've done a video on the possible linebackers of day 2. This one is going to be about the receivers on day 2 of the draft. This includes the 2nd and 3rd round. There are a ton of wide receiver prospects in this draft that I think are worthy of going in the 2nd and 3rd round, but I just picked 5. I picked 5. That doesn't mean that I think that other wide receivers aren't worthy of it. I just picked 5 because for the sake of the video. Cadarius Tony will probably be my first option. This guy was my 4th or 5th receiver coming out of this draft months ago, and he still kind of is, but it seems like he's falling down draft boards. Terrace Marshall ended up running a 4.38. Who knows how legit that time is, but great for him. He ended up running a 4.38. A couple of other guys blew the combine away. There's guys at other positions shooting up boards like Jermaine Davis. So a ton of guys are shooting up boards. Elijah Moore has shot up boards. I'm not that high on Elijah Moore, but for some reason, Kadarius Tony has been kind of pushed outside of the 1st round. And I would love for him to fall to the Giants at 42 if we do not go receiver round 1. You know, if we get that lineman round 1, Kadarius Tony will be a perfect plug-in kind of player. You can move him around. He's a great route runner. He's great after the catch. He can go deep. He can pretty much do it all. I mean, he probably is best in the slot, but I think he could also play a little bit outside. And I just think he's probably the 4th or 5th best receiver in this entire class. And that would be my #1 option that I would be considering at that spot. And then looking at this next guy, Rondelle Moore. Rondelle Moore is someone who I think is a 1st round talent, bar none. I mean, you got the big 3. You got Rashad Bateman after that. And then maybe Kadarius Tony. I think Rondelle Moore is probably above Kadarius Tony and Terrace Marshall because the dude is electric fast. He plays the game so physically with such a strong mentality. It's like he's going to get his job done no matter what. If you're in his way, he's going to run you over. And the dude is like 5'9", or maybe 5'8", 5'9", 5'8". But like I said, he's a guy who's going to run a 4.2, who's going to be powerful with the ball in his hand, almost like a running back. And that's the only con to his game, is that he's so aggressive with the football. He's such an aggressive player, and his body is so small that often his body ends up betraying him because of his physical play style, and he gets injured a lot. He gets injured a ton, and that's the only reason why he's not going in the 1st round. I would consider him in the 2nd round, and if he's there in the 3rd round, I mean, that's a no-brainer kind of pick. This dude is way too talented, way too explosive. He can score at any point. Pretty much any point he touches the ball, he's a threat to score. Now, Diamie Brown is someone that I like. I've done a ton of film on him. It was kind of tough for me to really, fill out what I think about him after I've done a lot of tape on him, because he doesn't run many routes, but the routes that he runs, he gets open. Like his team basically sent him on post routes, streaks, in routes, basically down the field kind of simple routes. And I think he can do more than that. I think he can run the route tree better than that, but they just didn't give him an opportunity to. So if Diamie Brown can get into the NFL, get that coach, and be able to run more of those routes, I think he's a sleeper kind of pick. One of those guys that, gets taken in the 2nd round, 2nd or 3rd round every single year, who ends up being a Pro Bowl kind of all-pro receiver. I'm pretty sure DeAndre Hopkins went in the 2nd round. Devontae Adams, I think he went in the 2nd or 3rd round. Michael Thomas definitely went in the 2nd round. So it happens every year. There's always a guy who you take in the 2nd and 3rd round who is arguably going to be one of the best receivers in the league. And then you have your flip sides of your Julios and your AJ Greens and those guys who are kind of surefires, who I feel like that's what our top 3 receivers in this draft this year are. I think they're much more surefire than most other drafts. But Diamie Brown is someone who consistently got down the field when they knew he was going down the field. And this brings into question, is he going to replace a guy like Darius Slayton? Is he going to be the reason why Dante Pettis or John Ross be cut? Because the Giants will add a receiver in the top 3 rounds. I'm almost ready to book on it, but who is he going to kind of step over to get those snaps? I think it would probably be a Darius Slayton, or that, you know, Joe Judge is known to have kind of a rotation. But I would say that Dyami Brown basically plays that Slayton role. I don't think he's as fast, but he is a guy that's a consistent deep threat, and he usually does it, you know, with a little bit of nuance in his route running, because he's not like a 4-2 guy who just runs through everything. So Dyami Brown is someone that I would consider with the 2nd round pick, and I would 100% take him in the 3rd round. But I think his best value is probably in between our 2nd and 3rd round picks. So that's just something to keep in mind. And then moving on to Nico Collins, he's your prototypical big body receiver. He's a guy who's going to go up and get the ball. I think he's like 6'3", 6'4". I don't have his measurements in front of me, but he opted out this past year. I think he kind of could have used a little bit more polish. If he would have played last year, he might have been considered to be a 1st round pick, but he's got all the physical tools. He can be that deep threat. He can be that possession receiver. He kind of is when I say this, when I say a type of receiver, I don't mean that's his comp, but he's kind of the Kenny Golladay type of receiver who's going to be the big body guy, who's going to be a threat to go over the top of people in the air, you know, when the ball's in the air, and then in the possession game, he's going to be able to be a threat to kind of body people. So Nico Collins is someone that I would definitely consider in the 2nd round. There's no way he'll be there in the 3rd round. I just can't see it happening. And then lastly, we got everybody's favorite prospect. Some people have this guy ranked in the 6th or 7th round. Tamorrion Terry, I don't know what's going on with his draft stock, but some of these draft boards have him ranked in the 6th, 7th round. I don't understand that. You could say he needs a little bit more polish, but the dude is very fast, very physical. I hate to say it because people say, oh, a lazy comp, blah, blah, blah. But listen, he plays the game like Randy Moss. Is he Randy Moss? No, there's no Randy Moss that's going to be running around in this league right now. So he's not Randy Moss, but he plays the game like Randy Moss. He's a big guy. I think he measured in as like 6'2", and he's basically 6'3". A lot of people had him listed as 6'4" in college. So he's a guy who's that big, who can really go over the top of people and be a threat to jump over top of people. But he's also a speed guy. So that mixture is deadly, as we saw with people like Randy Moss, as we see with a lot of other receivers that have come after him. And Tamorrion Terry, I think his best value is at the end of the 2nd round. So if he's there in the 3rd round, I would definitely consider him. I wouldn't be mad if we took him in the 2nd round, but Tamorrion Terry is an intriguing prospect. Now, he didn't run the full route tree at all. He needs some polish. He's going to need that. But at this point, we can afford to kind of plug people in and allow them to learn as the season goes along, because we have a little bit of depth there now. I'm concerned about their injuries, about the injury history. And, if one guy goes down, we're pretty much down to what we had last year. But I think that these guys will be able to kind of bring Tamorrion Terry along. And again, he will be competing for that Darius Slayton role. And, I mean, Darius Slayton has got to really step up this offseason if he doesn't want to lose his job. Because right now it's looking like he's our 3rd best receiver. It looks like he's going to be battling it out for that 3rd and 4th wide receiver spot. He does not want to get bumped down to that 4th option. But a lot of these guys in the draft, especially if we take them in the 2nd round, are going to be vying for that role. And the best case scenario for Darius Slayton is that we take a Rondale Moore or Cadarius Tony or an Elijah Moore or somebody like that, or maybe even a St. Brown who can play in the slot, and they start to take some of Sterling Shepard's reps. So Darius Slayton at that point wouldn't really, have an issue. Also, Darius Slayton played a lot of snaps in the slot, more than you would think, and he looked pretty good in the slot. So that's also something to consider. But I don't think any of these receivers on this list are going to get Darius Slayton cut like some people think, but I do think they're going to make him have to work and get better, because these are some talented players and they will play. One of these players, maybe not any of these players, but the Giants will take some receiver in the first 3 rounds. I'm very sure of that. And they're gonna be playing. They're going to be getting playing time. So it's all about Darius Slayton continuing to be versatile and be able to play in the slot, Shep, the same thing, versatility, playing in the slot. So that way you can rotate these second round or third round wide receivers in and out. And that way you have a complete, you have a complete juggernaut on offense because you have a ton of good receivers. So this may mean that John Ross or Dante Pettis get cut, but that's just how it happens. You want to have a good problem like, oh, I had to cut a good receiver. So those are my 5 players. I'll go back over them. Kadarius Tony, Rondelle Moore, Dyami Brown, Nico Collins, Tamorrion Terry. I think they're all good receivers. Of course, Nico Collins and Tamorrion Terry are the bigger receivers. They're kind of those X receivers. Dyami Brown, I would say, is that he could play the X. He could play the X receiver. You probably don't want him getting pressed. He's not the biggest dude, but I think he could do it. Rondelle Moore can pretty much play anywhere. I think you can stick him at pretty much anywhere you want to play him. And Cadarius Tony, you can play anywhere, but Cadarius Tony and Rondelle Moore are probably best suited for the slot. But again, I think you can literally, put them anywhere on the field because they're such good route runners and they're such explosive players in the open field. So you guys let me know what you think of this list. What second, third round, fourth round receivers are you looking for? Which ones did I leave off of my list that you think that I should have left, that I should have included in this video? What are you thinking for this draft? Do you even want to go wide receiver in the second or third round? A lot of people think we're stacked at receiver. I kind of disagree with that, but you weigh in the comments. So if you made it this deep into the video, I'm calling you a D6 squad member. If you're a D6 squad member, you got to hit that subscribe button. You got to turn on that notification bell. And listen, I make all kinds of content for NFL teams. So if you're not a Giants fan, don't worry. I'll cover your team. If I'm not covering your team, let me know. And have a good one.